Overtired. So tired. Overtired.
You're listening to Overtired, a podcast about people who are tired and ADHD. I'm Christina Warren. Right now, this is a great episode for you to join us for because Mr. Brett Terpstra is very tired. He has not slept. Jeff Severance Gunzel is in Africa, so he's he's
probably not
tired.
sleeping.
Probably not sleeping. And our guest, Erin Dawson, you were hungover, which I think is like very related to tired in many cases. So I'm like the only one, I guess, who's not that tired, but
That's unusual.
it is unusual. So anyway, this is our show. Welcome to Overtired, everyone.
You do seem perky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like perky Christina.
Perky Christina is definitely better than like bitchy, like like tired, hangry Christina for sure.
Yeah. So Erin, why are you hungover?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask. I have a one-person metal band called Genital Shame, and it's not always only me. I toured US and Canada with a full band like less than a month ago. For which I took off work, and it was great. And so I played like to a backing track, and afterwards, so I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Paris of Southwest PA. Everyone knows that. And so I traveled to Morgantown, where I went to college, Morgantown, West Virginia. And so afterwards, because you get drink tickets, right? Brett, you've played live shows. I don't know about you, Christina, but one of the great things about playing live is you get drink tickets. And so that's step zero to my fate.
How many drink tickets did you get?
So you get 6. One
6
qualifies.
drink tickets?
That's a lot. That's pretty good.
So
it's very
many.
generous. So
and these are like full pours. Like they weren't like watering your shit down?
No, absolutely not. 1 gets you a PBR or similar. 2 gets you pretty much everything else. For me, it's a Fernet and Coke. That's my drink.
What's Fernet?
It's
a digestif.
Okay.
And it's not a French drink. It's an Italian liquor.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I've had Fernet. Yeah, it comes in like a special kind of bottle or whatever. Yeah.
And after the show, went and saw drag.
Sure.
A drag show. So, gay bars are great because the drinks are really bad and they're really overpriced, but they're really cold. Like I'm looking for a...
You're really selling it.
Yeah. But drag,
if you have
there,
no other reason
fun.
to go to a drag bar, show up for these overpriced but very cold drinks.
And I love the smell of bleach, which I feel like most gay bars feature. And my absolutely not researched take on that is probably due to like during and after the AIDS crisis, gay bars get this reputation as a sort of den of not just iniquity, but also for
virus.
Like disease. Yes, virus. And so if you make the senses, if the first impression is like, oh, clean, then you're more likely to feel comfortable. I've never heard anyone say that. I do not know if that is true. But I love it.
Maybe. I mean, that is great. I was going to say, because when I would think of like the den of inequity with like the virus, I would think of bathhouses, which incidentally, there is one like I can see it from my apartment. And that's
steam
what
rising
I think about.
From all the
basically, well, it is called Steamworks, and no, but I can I can literally see it from my from my apartment. So that's what I always think is that. But yeah, I think you might make a good point, and I have a feeling bathhouses too is like cleanliness would be the first thing that you would want to do in a place that feels like it's quasi legal as a concept. Just being honest, like even putting the whole like, spreading the disease thing aside, it does feel weird that there's a place that you pay a cover and can basically just like fuck random people like in
I love
quasi
it.
public. I mean, I love
I
it
feel like
too.
that's
I'm
great.
just surprised that we were a country founded by Puritans. I am surprised that this is like a thing that has ever been legal in this country. That's all. Like I'm not against it. I'm just saying that seems like a very European thing. Doesn't seem like a super American thing.
Totally true. Speaking of cleanliness, the hotel I stayed in last night, I've never seen this before. This hotel was a little fancy. They had the TV remote in a plastic bag,
Oh yeah,
which
yeah,
makes me feel I don't watch hotel TV usually,
sure.
really. But that makes me feel good, keeping up with the illusion of no one has ever stayed here. You were the first
Totally.
person to do that. We just got this out of the Amazon A3 box or
Yep,
whatever.
100%.
It's for you.
Do you think
Yeah.
they changed the plastic bag? Because if you don't
You're
change
saying
the plastic bag, then it's the same as having a dirty remote.
I don't know.
But
That was a COVID thing that they started doing.
Okay.
the idea to me is the plastic bag tells you that someone has removed the remote, wiped
Yes.
it down with one of those things you get when you eat wings.
Yep.
Disinfectant wipes, I guess they're called.
You look a moist towelette. Yep.
Moist towel.
Very moist, but not too moist because
No,
it's an electronic
just
device.
enough.
Yeah, and then you put it back in the bag. But you're saying maybe they just replace the bag and they don't worry about disinfect. I don't know.
Wait,
I'll
so to use it, you pull it out from the bag?
Correct.
Yeah.
So you're seeing the bag as like a safety tab, like yes, like something that was replaced that indicates that it had been cleaned.
It's telling you
Okay.
a story.
In my head, you are using the remote through a plastic bag.
No.
I would
That's
do
not how
that.
it works.
I
You
would
could,
do that
but that's not
to
what
be
it's
extra
designed for.
safe.
No, because I've seen these. No, because the way it's designed is basically it was a COVID thing. And it's like, because it's possible people did it before COVID. I never saw it before COVID. And so I think the idea is to show that they have been, to Erin's point, took like the disinfectant towelette. Like I'm not even going to say the one that you use for wings. I'm going to say like the one that like, it's not a makeup wipe, but it's the one that has like some antiseptic on it. Like it's basically like isopropyl alcohol, like on a little pad. Like it's the one that would come in the bag to clean your camera lens, right? Like it's one of those things. And so they would use that. They would wipe over the remote, and then they would have a plastic bag, which I'm sure is probably a one-time use thing, that they would put it in, put tape on it, and then put it on the armoire or whatever, so that when people come in, they're like, oh, we've actually gone through the steps and cleaned this room. And for me, what would make me feel better about the cleanliness wouldn't even be the fact that like the remote is in the bag, but that they went through all those steps. Because if you went through all those steps, then to me, it's much more likely that you actually did like dust and vacuum and change the sheets, and that I'm not sleeping on someone else's like bodily fluids.
Yeah. Okay. So you got 6 drink tickets, and apparently it costs 2 tickets to get something other than shitty beer. So you start with a something and Coke.
Fernet and Coke.
Yes. And then what happens?
The best usage of 6 drink tickets to me is 2 cocktails, although I learned recently a Fernet and Coke doesn't even qualify as a cocktail because a cocktail requires 3 things to be a cocktail. Much like in music, you need 3 notes to make a chord. Anything else is just an interval. You need a spirit, you need a citrus component, and you need a base. Anything else is just a mixed drink.
I was gonna say,
okay.
I didn't know the exact like thing, but I would have described what you got not as a cocktail, but as a mixed drink. So,
all right.
Yeah.
And then to me, I feel like this might say a lot about a person. Like, how would you spend 6 drink tickets? What is the biggest bang for the buck? For me, and this is how I would do it and how I did do it, 2 mixed drinks or 2 cocktails, 2 PBRs.
Sure.
Right? And then to the gay bar where I get
front load with the cocktails.
Yep.
Chase with the PBR, and then head to the gay bar.
And this was my error, right? Because I mixed beer with liquor, and now I'm sicker. because
Yeah.
I went to the gay bar. You don't really drink beer at a gay bar.
No. You drink cocktails. I was gonna say, yeah. I mean that's when you're drinking you're really overpriced cosmopolitans or vodka cranberries or whatever. And screwdrivers, yeah, which are great, or whatever, something citrusy. For me, it's usually like a cranberry component, and you find out that they cost $15, and then at that point you're so drunk you don't care and you order 5 more. Not that that's ever happened to me at gay bars before.
No.
And that's completely happened to me. And you're just like, but I don't care. I'm gonna spend $90 on drinks. Yeah,
that's right. And what's
exactly
more, they had like the scantily clad women with the little trays with shots on them. The shots are $5. They taste like an ice bowl. Oh, really?
At the gay bar? They had scantily clad women at the gay bar.
Shooter girl.
Oh, yes.
I must have grown up in a different era.
It's very, very diverse.
I was gonna say at this point, gay bars are a lot more diverse. But I used to be a shooter girl. Actually, that's the only type of.
What does that mean?
That is those girls who sell the shots, because how that works is that you pay $3 for the shots, and then you can sell them for whatever you can sell them for. So it's a game of arbitrage. So depending on like how hot you look and how good you are at selling things, depends on how much you make
and how drunk the customers are. Sure.
Yes. But you have to buy the entire tray up front. So like I have to pay $50 or whatever up front, and then I have to make, and then whatever profit I make, I keep. But
interesting.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had no idea. This is all news to me. My drink at gay bars, actually my drink at First Avenue too. Like I knew a girl who was a bartender at First Avenue, and she gave me my drinks for free. And what I would always order was a triple tequila sunrise.
Oh my God. I can't drink a tequila at all. But
a tequila sunrise is like peach. I don't even remember what else in a tequila sunrise, but it's very fruity. It's very fruity.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I do remember that. I cannot drink any tequila at all, even the smell of it. I'm just like,
same.
Nope.
All right.
Going back to the shooter girl arbitrage thing, like it seems like the difficulty in that for me would be when to move on from engaging with a customer, because you want to have a reputation of someone who's flirty, which is like half the battle, I would assume.
Yes.
But it's in your best interest to keep those interactions brief.
Yes.
So yeah, it's very diplomatic, probably.
Totally. No, it is. It's a diplomatic thing. Thank you so much. Here you go. Move on to the next person. And then maybe if they want to buy more, if they want to engage, fine. Like if somebody buys a whole tray, which will happen sometimes, they'll be like, I'll give you $100, so they're going to pay double or whatever. Okay. Stand around and talk for a few minutes and then give them the tray. And then you'd be like, I've got to go get more, whatever. See you in a little bit. And then like not. So yeah, you're right. There is like that level to it, but it totally depends. And yes, there will be people who will buy the whole tray, for them and their boys or for themselves or whatever. And you're just like, hey, I'm not the one who has to, check any of that. That's not on me. Yeah. That was
at what age did you do this?
Like 20 to 22.
Okay.
It was like a not a super frequent thing. It would be like an occasional kind of.
But it's the kind of job you can just walk in and be like, I'm your shot girl for the night. So
my older sister worked in bars and stuff, and she was actually a very good bartender. See, this is what I loved about it. I didn't have to be a bartender. I just had to like look hot and be flirty and be good at arbitrage, which that is actually what I'm good at. Like I was good at the sales part. And she needed somebody to help out. Basically, one of her girlfriends like probably got too drunk or something, and so she was like literally like at her last end, and so she was like, I will call my baby sister. And I was like, I need some cash. It's the same way that I was a booth babe once, which was an awful experience. But
did you say I need some cash or I need some hash?
Cash.
Okay.
I was gonna say I didn't do drugs or anything then. Yeah, but that was the exact same way that I was a booth babe once, was because one of Kelly's friends bitched out, and so I had to do a thing for a pharmaceutical company, and I was like, the money was not worth it, and it was a lot of money. It was like not like what the booth babes at CES and things like that would be paid. Like the pharmaceutical reps paid a lot more, but I was like, not into this. So I think usually you'd have to show up and probably like you do have to have a liquor license to be a shooter girl, but like it's a 1-page form. Like it takes no time. Like it's literally nothing. But you don't have to mix any drinks. You're literally just buying shots and then selling them for a higher price. Unless it's a really slow night or something's fucked, and then you could potentially have to sell them like lower, and that's why you're nice to the guys who like will buy the full trays. And it is always guys who buy the full trays. Like girls don't. I mean, they will buy stuff, but they won't spend that type of money.
All right, side anecdote.
Yes.
I was at CES one year, and I was at a Nikon booth, and there were half-dressed women on like a runway of sorts. And one of them stops and goes, "Brett?" Turns out I had a cousin who was a booth babe. Anyway, all right, back to the story. I feel like we haven't reached the
conclusion.
So far, we're at a couple cocktails and a couple PBRs, which for me, I wake up the next morning, I'm fine. So where do we go from here?
I think the real fatal error that I made was staying up until 3:30.
Sure.
I mean, it's that easy or that simple, right? And this was like my college town. I like went to grad school and everything, and so like
You've been to grad school? What degree do you have?
Rhetoric, basically English.
You have a master's?
Professional. I have a I studied music for undergrad, and here's the program, right? English : professional writing and editing.
All right.
PWE. But I want to say something real quick about hash, about which I know nothing.
This is such an ADHD conversation.
Well, I wanted to say it earlier, but you said the thing about
please interject.
Catching your cousin. This is the stupidest thing I'm about to say. I want to get a rumor started that hash got that name as a drug because it gives you a similar dopamine rush as eating hash browns.
Huh. You know what? I could believe that. I could believe that.
Because hash browns give me a lot of dopamine. Anyways.
I do love a hash brown. If hash were more like hash browns, I would be more into hash. I'm not going to lie.
This is what I'm saying. What do you call people who are addicted to hash?
Why is it called hash?
But to close the loop on this night out, I went to like the college pizza place and got some slices and then went to bed way too late. And that's,
And that's when you like discover that like you're not actually 25 anymore. And yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, that used to happen with me when I would go out with my interns, and I would be like, I did it a few times, and I was like still able to completely hang, and they were all like 10 years younger than me, and I was like, fuck yeah, I'm so cool. And then like there was like one night when it did not at all. Like I think I puked in the cab. So I had to pay like the $70 like cleanup fee, which, whatever. Like, I'm not the first time that somebody's ever puked in a New York City cab. Like, probably not even the first time. But that day exactly. I was like, you pay the fee, you're fine, whatever. And better a cab than an Uber because those fuckers are stingy from what I understand. But so it was one of those scenarios, and then I was just like so hungover the next day, and I was like, oh wow, you were actually not 22 anymore. Which was very depressing for me to have to come to that realization. But yeah, the late night going to the pizza place. Now, did that help with your hangover? Because for me, it usually does, depending on what time I stop drinking. Like depending on when I stop drinking, if I get food in my system, that usually does help with the hangover.
It did. Absolutely.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Good.
Yes.
Good girl. Yeah. I'm proud of you for that because
Thank you.
There's nothing worse than that.
To eat.
Yes, it is.
You wake up
it is.
like, I never will do this again.
Yeah. Now, I have like a very strict rule that I learned again from the older sister who was like a bad, well, no, actually these were very good life lessons, but like she taught me because I, especially back then, like didn't weigh a whole lot. And so even though I had like a pretty high tolerance, like there's a certain point when you're like, you're just going to throw up because it's just a body weight issue. And so I would have a thing like if I puked like before 12, then it's like a puke and rally. Like you continue to drink and you continue to go. But if it's like after 12:30, then it's like you've got to call it a night. Otherwise, you're going to have like the hangover from hell the next day.
What rhymes with 12? Beer before liquor, never sicker. Puke before 12. Wake up. Okay.
Twelve? What?
SNL?
Well,
What'd you say?
Elf.
wake up, elf.
Wake up an elf.
Wake up an elf.
He transformed.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, no, but that was I was reminding my sister about that a few months ago about the puke and rally, and she was like, I did not teach you that. I'm like, yes, you did. And she was like, yes, I did.
Yeah.
Puke before 12, into
Wake up an
darkness you delve.
Whoa.
So
No,
okay.
wait, because puking before 12 is good.
Yes, that's good.
Oh, puke before 12 into health you, I don't know. Fuck.
Puke after 12 into darkness you delve.
Dwell.
That would be good.
Okay, so I hate to interrupt this story. We got to do a sponsor break.
Do it.
Now that it's summer, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for sunny, active days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast with flavorful and nutritious ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track reaching your goals. Too busy with summer plans to cook, but want to make sure you're eating well? With Factor, skip the trip to the grocery store and skip the chopping, prepping, and cleaning up too, while still getting the flavor and nutritional quality you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy, and then get back to the outside and soak up warm weather. They offer delicious, flavor-packed options on the menu each week to fit a variety of lifestyles, from keto to calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and protein plus. Prepared by chefs and approved by dietitians, each meal has all the ingredients you need to feel satisfied all day long while meeting your goals. And if you're looking to mix it up, you can add a protein to select vegan and veggie meals. I assume that means you can order plant-based meals and add meat to it.
Not sure.
That works for me. I'm a pescatarian.
Yeah,
Like,
that'd be good.
I eat mostly vegan, but I add fish. So cool. And side note, the Factor meals I've gotten have been just great.
Yeah, they were really good.
Yeah, and I ordered all vegan and veggie from them and was really impressed with the selection and the quality. Like the fact that they're never frozen and you're not basically heating up a frozen dinner. But anyway, so choose from 34 plus chef prepared, dietitian approved weekly options featuring premium ingredients such as broccolini, leeks, truffle butter, and asparagus. Plus, you can round out your meal and replenish your snack supply with an assortment of 45 plus add-ons, including breakfast items like their delicious apple cinnamon pancakes, bacon and cheddar egg bites, and potato, bacon, and egg breakfast skillet. Or, for an easy wellness boost, try refreshing beverage options like cold-pressed juices, shakes, and smoothies. Want to budget this month by cutting back on takeout? Get Factor instead. Not only is Factor cheaper than takeout, but meals are ready faster than restaurant delivery in just 2 minutes. And with Factor, you can rest assured that you're making a sustainable choice. They offer 100% of their delivery emissions to your door, source 100% of renewable energy for their production sites and offices, and feature sustainably sourced seafood in their meals. Head to factormeals.com/overtired50 and use the code Overtired50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code Overtired50 at factormeals.com/overtired50 to get 50% off your first box. Yeah, I feel like I got through that.
Okay.
Were you
signing
worried?
up right
Were you
now.
worried about
That
me?
read.
I was a little bit, but no, I think you nailed it. And thank you, Factor.
Yeah. We appreciate sponsorships are lean right now. So
Sponsorships are real lean right now. See, we need like, honestly, like if the sponsors were just willing to offer us drink tickets, like I'd be get some PBRs, 2 mixed drinks. But I do have to say, I think that you did like nail like the balance of how to get the most bang for your buck, like getting like two beers. Or like in my case, I would try to see like, I guess this is the question. Would they give you a White Claw? Like, could you get a White Claw in exchange for PBR?
I think so.
Okay, because that's what I would do. I would do like 2 White Claws, or another sorts of like, like alcoholic seltzer, and then 2 mixed drinks or cocktails.
That's a great way to divvy it up. Just to close the loop on addictive substances and otherwise, why is it called hash? Did you figure that out, Brett?
I did not. I looked up, I Googled, I DuckDuckGo'd, why is it called hash? And I got a bunch of stuff about hashtags. And then
Hash
one
tables.
about why
Hashish.
like breakfast is called hash.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure this out right now, to see like that, because I think that, okay, this is what I think that it is. It's technically it's hashish, and it comes from North India and Nepal have a long social tradition in the production of hashish, known as charas. And then the term hashish was used in a pamphlet published in Cairo in 1123 CE, accusing Nizari Muslims of being hashish eaters. And then that led to some other things. So I think that it just has to be because it's the shorter version. I think that's boring, but I think that's what it is.
Is that an opioid thing or opium flower? Like what? I don't even know what it is. Sorry, this is not what this podcast.
Yeah, hashish
is
weed there's an extraction process that turns it into like concentrated. Yeah. I don't know that much about hash, but
yeah, I was gonna say
it is weed.
I was gonna say I was like looking into this whole thing, and yeah, okay. Let me Google why is hashish.
This is great radio.
It is great radio. I did find a short history.
Show notes.
We're gonna link it in the show notes. You can read it. I'm not gonna read it on the air, but you can read it in the show notes. But there is in fact a short history sponsored by Narcanon, so it's gonna be good.
Where's everyone on this podcast stand on the great hash brown versus home fries debate? I'm kidding. I don't really want to talk about that. I mean,
hash
obviously
browns.
I do.
Sorry.
But...
I'm sorry. It's hash browns, and I think that anybody who says home fries, you're kicked out of the table.
Wait,
you're not allowed to
home
order
fries. What does home fries mean? Is this
they're like the home fries. They're like the little like.
I don't. I'm from Minnesota, and I've never heard of home fries.
Okay,
I've heard of hot dish. I know what a casserole is.
No. Home fries are like the potato. They're like the fries that still have like the skins on the back and aren't really fries. They're like the potato kind of bits things, and then they put them in the skillet.
You dice a potato.
Do people eat them for breakfast though?
Yeah,
for sure.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I can't weigh in on this because I've only ever had hash browns for breakfast.
Yeah, I definitely. So yeah, it's more like the diced potato stuff, but they still have the skins on them. We put them in a skillet usually with like oil and some seasoning. I don't like them, and in fact, when I get them at a breakfast place, I'm usually disappointed. I'm like, can I have another potato option? Because to me, it's my least favorite potato preparation.
Do you guys make your own hash browns?
No.
Have you ever made hash browns?
No.
It's difficult. You have to get a mandolin.
Yep.
And treat your potatoes that way, and then get cheesecloth, rinse, squeeze all the moisture out of them.
That's the thing. Like you can just use a kitchen towel, but you like put them all in there, you roll it up, and then you twist it from both ends. Learning that changed my hash brown game. Now I can make good hash browns.
My dad makes good hash browns. My dad also makes home fries because they're easier to make. And I'm like, I don't want home fries. My dad does make good hash browns though, because he'll do like what is one of the what's the something in hash like meal? Like there's some sort of meat that goes with it.
A breakfast skillet?
Yeah, no, but it's called something in hash. But
Bangers and mash, somethings and hash.
but because I think he uses some sort of like even like I don't know if it's like there's a canned meat involved or what, but but my dad makes that pretty well, and because he's a very good cook. But yeah, I'm not into home fries. I will say this: my favorite of all of them, if I have a real option at a breakfast place, which is rare to get this option, unfortunately. But if I can get like a tater tot, like I love a tater tot.
To me, that is tot food. That is toddler food, and I'm not above eating food below my age class.
Fair.
But breakfast, nah.
Yeah,
I respect.
Yeah,
I
no, I have the palate of a 5-year-old, so it actually completely like matches me. But like, no, I do. I'm from the South, where like I'm literally from like the city where Waffle House was born, Atlanta, and so like, yeah, like I love like a good like hash brown, like especially like a scattered, like you order your hash browns a certain way at Waffle House. I was there earlier this month for a conference, and we were waiting in line to get into a club that was where the official after party for this event was supposed to be, and it was a ridiculous line. And then they were charging a cover even for people who we'd paid like pretty expensive, like the conference tickets were pretty expensive. And we were in line for a while, and some of my friends were already inside, and I was like, how is it? And they're like, it's pretty shitty. So I was like, we're not going into this. And then I was trying to rally some people to go to a strip club, but that wasn't working out. And so long story short, we wound up at Waffle House, and it was delightful. And I wasn't even drunk, which was the most impressive part, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that's the tagline. Waffle House when your friends won't go to the strip club.
Yeah.
My plan to demean your nominally tech-based podcast with potato discourse and hungover discourse is working.
No, we love it. Like, look, we were a Taylor Swift podcast for like 4 years, so this is fine.
I like that tagline too. Nominally a tech podcast.
I like that. I really like that. Actually, I think that we need to like put on the website someplace.
Can I interject a little bit of tech?
Please.
So, okay. I needed to test my applications on the beta OS.
Yes.
And so this time I was not going to make the mistake of loading up beta OS on my main machine. So I set up a partition and I went to download the installer for Sonoma and somehow managed to it never asked me what partition to install on. Like it never came up. It fucking installed it. So now I'm left with a machine that can no longer run
anything.
Overall it's pretty good. Obviously all the Rogue Amiga apps are not working.
Right.
I'm doing okay. We're recording this podcast on said machine. I could install what was the last one?
Ventura.
Then I could install Ventura on a partition and like boot into it if it were an emergency.
Excuse me, it's an APF. It's an APFS volume. Excuse me, or container. Yes. Excuse me, it's an APFS container. Yes. I don't care. I'm making fun of the people who will yell at you about that.
Fair enough. But yeah, so and it turns out marked my primary commercial application, the direct version of it will not run as is on Sonoma. And I have been in a Slack channel with like the best of the best Mac developers. We're talking Daniel Jalcut. We're talking Rich Siegel. Like all these people are trying to help me debug Yeah, we're trying to debug this problem and we are getting nowhere. And it's bizarre because the Mac App Store version and the SetApp version of the same app using the same code don't crash. It's just very specific to the paddle version, but compiling it without all of the framework specific to the paddle version doesn't make any difference. It still crashes every fucking time, and I cannot figure it out. So that's my tech update.
That sucks. I am so sorry. Although, I mean, I am glad that at least you like figured this out this early in the cycle.
Yeah.
Like that's the one kind of good news. The bad news is because now they've, I think, like made the betas basically like free for everybody from the get-go, is that you have more users who are installing this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I imagine that especially like some of your user base, you're getting like support requests for things. And it's like,
not yet, but it will happen.
It will happen.
If I don't solve this soon, it will happen.
Which is annoying to me because I'm like, look, do not expect like people to have stuff supported before it officially comes out. You've chosen to install the beta. Like, fuck you for expecting anything to work. Like, it's one of the reasons why I don't install the betas on my phone anymore, like my primary phone anymore, because a lot of financial apps aren't updated until the very end, which makes complete sense. And I completely understand that. But then I'm just kind of like, well, you know, I need to use my banking apps. Actually, how that switched was when I joined Microsoft, there were some things with our MDM solution, which I used, I was forced to use on my phone that like, would oftentimes not work in the betas. And I would be like, well, I can either get email on my phone, which is a pseudo requirement, or I can run the latest beta, but I can't do both. So GitHub doesn't make me install an MDM on my phone, and so I won't. Yeah. Well,
I got
get to figure this out.
I got a new Apple Watch though. I finally...
Ooh. You finally
I had
got
like
a
series. I had a Series 5, and
that's a big upgrade.
And yeah, it had been working fine, so I hadn't considered upgrading it. But then the battery started to go. I was having to charge more than once a day, which was for a watch. That's just untenable. So I figured it was time for an upgrade, and I got the current Series 8. Is that what I have? I don't even know.
Yeah, Series 8. Yeah, so you didn't get the Ultra or whatever it's called.
No.
Yeah, that thing is hideous in my opinion. I know some people love it, but I find it ridiculously ugly.
Okay. Yeah. So,
well, here's the thing, though.
Watch, but nothing changed. It's all the same to me.
No, totally. It's just your battery's going to work better and it'll last longer. Which is honestly, I think, the best thing about the watch. And let me just say about the Apple Watch Ultra, the reason I think that it's ugly is because it's very clearly a men's watch. And I think that it's a men's watch, and it doesn't like work well on people who have small wrists like me, a person who the smallest band is sometimes borderline too big. So like when I wear that thing, some people are like, oh, it kind of looks good oversized on your wrist. I'm like, not really. It's also sort of industrial looking, and that's fine. I just, when I saw them do the rollout last year, I was like, congratulations, you've given us a men's watch. And like, you notice that they have like no women like photos of them on it. And it's, you know, it's kind of a Garmin sort of thing. So I'm sure that it has great features for people who care about running and going underwater. That's not me. Speaking of underwater, okay, kind of macabre thought, but because the submersible for the Titanic, the Titan, the Ocean Gate submersible, because that thing apparently, like, I guess it exploded or whatever, imploded during descent, because that company was like shady as fuck and they didn't have any of the basic safety precautions, which they were not required to have by law. And James Cameron, who kept his mouth shut until it was confirmed that everybody was gone, and then was giving hella interviews, which I think is the correct thing, because everybody wanted to hear from him because he's weirdly like the foremost expert on this entire space, like probably in the world. No, he's like gone to the Mariana Trench. Like he did 33 dives Titanic. He designed his own submersible. Like he's actually a legit expert on this stuff. but he smartly like waited until, you know, it was over to comment. But he like pointed out all like the technical flaws they had, but they didn't have like a black box at all.
Right.
So one of my friends, not going to name her, Alex Kranz, had like a really macabre thought, which was that the 19-year-old totally had his phone out the whole time. So like the best chance of the black box would be what is, you know, realistically probably his iPhone. So she wanted me to text someone at Apple to find out like if the phone like could survive some sort of implosion and be that far down.
6,000 PSI, sure.
Exactly. I was like, I don't think so. I was like, but I was like, but I wanted to pose that question for the pod here. Like, do you think there's anything left of that phone? And do you think that like if they got it, that they could like recover anything? I'm just throwing it out there, assuming that they actually, you know, had the ability, which is completely unlikely, to, you know, go through the wreckage and whatnot. Do you think that if they were able to find anything with that phone, that they'd be able to pull anything off of it?
Yes, and I don't even think they'd have to find any physical artifact of the phone. Let's say that they were able to have their own internet connectivity on the Titan. Let's say if it's an iCloud, because let's say you captured a video or something at the beginning or at the end or at any part. I mean, that's probably an MOV file somewhere, right?
Yeah, I seriously doubt they had an internet connection at that point.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the problem, is that they wouldn't have had any connectivity because
they didn't even have radio at that point.
Yeah,
from
they didn't have
like local source.
The way they were communicating with like the ship up top was through like text messages, because that's the only thing that could get through at like the low
SMS messages, not SMS, right?
Yeah.
But don't you don't need internet connectivity for that?
No, that's a different that's wireless. That's different. I mean, like,
okay,
yeah, like you could just have like the ability to send SMS and not the ability to access like the broader internet,
or like SOS. So sorry.
I mean, but no, but that was sort of an interesting question, because I was like, like I wonder if, you know, what sort of conditions Apple tests these things in. That just made me think of that with the watch, because they're like, oh, you can go deep sea diving and whatnot, you know, with the watch and all this and that. And it's like, well, okay, well, is anything on that phone? Because there's even part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that becomes, that would be death pornography, for which there is like this weird underground
snuff porn.
Yeah,
no, it's different. Yeah, it's stuff, but yeah, it's different. But it's like the Timothy Treadwell tape that people like keep claiming that they found, but they haven't. Okay, so he was the guy in Grizzly Man, the Werner Herzog documentary, which is great, by the way, about this guy who like was like this normie kind of hippie guy who decided that he wanted to live in the woods with bears and like make programming about how like he could basically like be friends with the bears and live amongst them. And so of course a bear killed him and his girlfriend. But he was a documentarian of himself, and so the attack was like caught on video, like not the video, but like on audio. And Werner heard it, and he even told like the guy's like ex-girlfriend, who's been, like, his longtime partner. Yes, he was like,
you must never.
Yes. So for years, this has been kind of like this like thing that people like, gross people, including myself, I'm not gonna lie, that was the first thing I Googled when I saw Grizzly Man in 2007. I'm not proud of it, but I am who I am.
Does it exist?
No.
Right.
No.
Because
thank God
she destroyed it, right?
Oh yeah, or yeah, she did or he did, and but people keep claiming, and so you'll find like fake, like, you know, videos of people claiming to have the Timothy Treadwell.
And it's a Rickroll,
basically, or something else. Yeah. That documentary is really good. I was thinking of that documentary a lot this whole week. I was like, ooh, because I was like, and I know this is dark too, but I was like, okay, somebody's going to need to do like the mini series or the documentary or the whatever about this whole disaster and this whole thing. You know, like someone needs to do the Into Thin Air of this. And I was trying to think, I was like, okay, who do we want directing this? And we were like, do we want it to be like Michael Bay, Paul Greengrass? Like, I think Peter Berg did a really good job with he's with one of the disaster things. James Cameron has too many avatars to make and frankly better things to do. But I was like, ooh, I kind of want a Werner Herzog like documentary about like this whole thing.
And so we were just talking before the show. I just watched that film Reality, about Reality Winner and the whistleblower kind of 2017 thing. So one thing that did was like, okay, so that's like 6 years removed. We have some perspective on it. I don't know where I was going with that, but where I'm going with this is that there will be, in 6 years when this miniseries comes out, the perspective we'll have was that maybe billionaires are bad. I mean, that's the perspective we have now. And it will be a class take in the same way that White Lotus is a class a commentary, in the same way that Triangle of Sadness is a class commentary. There are so many like properties with like, fuck billionaires. And yes, who can't get behind that?
No, I agree. Well, yeah. Well, I was going to say that was. Yeah. So go on.
It's just this story. I had the New York Times like live updates tab open all day, and I found myself, maybe like you, Christina, like really attracted, like fatally attracted to the developments here, because there are so many. There's so many things tied up here. There is class. Yes. There is the guy who thinks he can be better than the certification of an entire industry. There's that's exactly right. There's the innocent son. There's the experienced French guy. Like there's so much to work with.
There's also the entire, like James Cameron kept pointing out when he finally started doing his media interviews, like the parallels between this and the Titanic. And then there's the appeal of the lore of the Titanic, which obviously is why people paid the money to do these things to begin with, which continues to endure 110 years after it's sinking and be one of those things that is just, I was fascinated by Titanic from the time I learned about it. And as a little kid, and that continues. You should read the book if you haven't read it. It's called Into Thin Air. It's 1996, about the 1996 Everest disaster. It preceded every single thing that we've seen both here and in kind of extreme mountaineering, where it didn't get any better after his book, and in a lot of these other things. Because what happened in 96 was this was at the kind of the beginning of the so-called kind of adventure tourism market, where rich people would basically pay Sherpas and other people to walk them up these great peaks, and would pay a lot of money to do it. And John Krakauer, who is a journalist and an author, but also a very accomplished climber himself, was offered a spot on one of the two big commercial expedition teams to kind of do a profile of things for Outside Magazine. And his whole thing, he was like, I'm not just going to write about this and do it on base camp. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to actually climb the mountain. And his book, which he wrote literally when he came back, and he made it up the mountain, he made it back down, he lived, but both of those team leaders from those big expedition teams died, along with a number of the participants. And some other people were like basically left for dead, and it because there basically a hurricane happened on top of Mount Everest, and it was a massive avalanche. And there's an IMAX film about it. It was a big fucking deal. They tried to rescue the people. It was an awful situation, and because he's an incredible writer, like he wrote this very, very raw book. First, it started out as an Outside Magazine piece, and I think they gave him the entire issue. And then he expanded that into a book, and it's incredibly raw and incredibly, I think, it's very, very pointedly judgmental of the entire like for-profit industry, and the fact that people who don't have the skills or the technique or like the ability are being carried up these mountains. And he wrote that in 1996. It came out at the end of 96. 27 years later, the whole Everest thing has only gotten bigger and worse, and the commercialization of that mountain has only
The
caused
John
more
Oliver
disasters.
piece on that
Yeah.
is so good.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
And so then you see it in other areas. And like what's interesting about the Titanic thing was that all of the scientific reasons to go down there have been exhausted. Like they took a 3D model, I think last year that they went down there. So they literally have like a perfect like visualization of what everything is in the wreck site. And so this was the only tourism outlet left. And then this was a pretty shoddy one. They were charging a lot of money, but they weren't profitable. And they didn't follow a lot of the other procedures, a lot of the other submersibles follow for tourism things. And then as James Cameron and other people were pointing out, like the location of where the wreck is a really, really difficult location. There's a lot of debris. The weather's really bad. Like it's not where you want to go on these things. And so there are like all these warning signs. But what I fear is that in 6 years, when this mini series and these books and things come out, is that you will have another rich guy who will be convinced that he can go down and see 2 wrecks.
And it will be a guy.
Of course. and that you will have like another wave of this. Like, unfortunately, I wish that this would lead to maybe less of these things, but I think just like into thin air, ironically maybe like led to a much greater like cultural understanding of the fact that, oh, you mean I can just pay someone to walk me up these tall mountains, that more people are going to be aware that, oh yeah, you mean I can just pay someone to take me into the depths of the ocean.
Rich guys want to penetrate. Rich guys want to penetrate outer space with their Bezos dick rocket.
Very phallic rockets, yes.
Yep.
And rich men want to penetrate the sea. Here's a shower thought. Okay, this is a sort of modern Icarus myth, where instead of getting too close to the sun, your wings melting, help me, to the ground, we are getting a little too close the other direction. And our things are imploding. I don't know. I'm still working on it, but
no, I get where you're going. No, but I think you bring up a great point. The parallels with space tourism. What's interesting there, I think that the space tourism is weirdly, I think, a little safer, just because the cost of entry is so much higher, because we invested so many billions, or probably close to trillions of dollars in the space race in 40 years, that the only people who can get into that space, like there's a much higher barrier to entry. Like the Stockton Rush, the third guy, like he was rich, but he wasn't like Bezos rich, right? And it was clear because this thing was controlled by like a Logitech gamepad and was built in a shitty way, right? Like an actual money person who builds a submersible would be what James Cameron built for his. He did not do that. And so you had these rich people who just, I think to your point, like they think that they like know it all and they can just kind of run the whole thing and it's going to be fine, and aren't doing due diligence, makes it really unsafe. Whereas bizarrely, as bad as I think we will have disasters in space tourism, as we have with all space exploration, I almost think that like the barrier to entry to like even get into that space is so high that like the good thing for now, at least, is that you don't have as many like hucksters, because you'd have to have so much money to even get something in the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about this is the 2010s had a lot of prestige television like this, where you're rooting for a complicated protagonist who is actually in this universe a very clear antagonist. With these kinds of episodes, like what was the like submarine getting lost in Thailand or whatever that was. No, that's not actually what I'm talking about. This kind of like, there's something, they're on the precipice of life and death, and you can root for either one kind of fairly, is the same kind of I'm rooting for an anti-hero. What does that say about me? And rooting for the just desserts of someone who has this much hubris is a similarly complicated emotional situation, where it's like, this is such an ugly feeling. I like, fuck your video game controller. Who do you think you are?
Totally.
You get this. You deserve this. But it's like, oh my God, it's a human life, you monster.
Totally, it's a bunch of human lives.
So
And
it's
just
like,
because they're rich
You
assholes doesn't mean they
monster.
deserve to die. You know, like the ones I felt bad for was like the French like explorer and tour guide who
yeah.
probably should have known better,
Oh,
but
yeah,
wasn't paid a
right?
lot. And then like the
Played by Bill
19-year-old,
Murray.
Yeah.
you know, like
Soon. Right.
yeah,
right.
totally. Yeah, you're right. Could totally be played by Bill Murray. And like the 19-year-old who's just going on a thing with his dad and is not thinking anything else, right? Like
Yeah,
I don't care
yeah.
about the billionaire. I don't care about the Pakistani businessman. I don't care about the founder, but like the French explorer and guide, and who again, like was not paid well, and the teenager. I mean, I feel bad for everybody dying. Like we'd all had
Yeah.
hope. Like
So right. So like, yeah, I'm more ambivalent towards the billionaire, the millionaires. But like it's all human life. And if you were like they knew the risks and they still brought the kid, they still endangered the life of the tour guide, or whatever you want to, the diver.
yeah, the expert.
And it sucks. Like, as much as I want to be like, okay, so billionaires made a mistake, whatever. It is what it is. It is there's human life cost, and
Yes.
that does weigh on me.
No,
You know what the
totally.
worst part of this is? Is they littered. That's at the bottom of that's on the earth. That's metal. That's not supposed to be there. Sorry.
I would say that
silly.
I would say the same about most of our space exploration.
Oh yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Our
Same
sky
way.
is littered. We should. So, Erin, I didn't give you a heads up about grAPPtitude. Have you listened to enough episodes to know what grAPPtitude is?
I failed to do that. I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
So you can sit this out. What we do is we pick an app or a service, or it's pretty flexible, that we're really into right now. Usually an indie thing.
Doesn't have to
And
be.
it doesn't have to be. I think fucking last week Jeff picked Google Docs.
Yeah.
So
I have one. I have one.
It's pretty
Oh, you
wide
have
open.
one?
All right.
Awesome.
Christina, are you prepared for this?
I am not. So if you guys want to go first, I will. I'm trying to figure out what I want to choose.
All right. Well, I will kick it off. I'm picking Launch Bar this week. I can't remember if I've talked about Launch Bar before.
You have, but talk about it again because it's great.
It's a controversial pick because there are so many great launchers.
Yeah.
But when I think about what do I use most every day, it's like Text Expander and Launch Bar. And it's how I get to everything. So it's a pretty simple pick. And if we've covered it before and I'm just forgetting, then we don't have to go into depth on it.
I mean, I think we have, but we have, I think, but it's worth talking about again because, as you mentioned, there are like a ton of them. There's Raycast, there's Alfred, obviously Spotlight. There's some other things, and it's been interesting. There's been sort of a resurgence in the last couple of years.
Well, and Spotlight has picked up. Yeah. Spotlight has picked up so much functionality from its early days. From its what was what did they Sherlock to make Spotlight? What was that called?
Quicksilver.
No. There was something on like OS 9.
Oh, Sherlock.
I mean, was it Oh, yeah, that's right. That's where the term Sherlock came from.
That's literally where the term Sherlock came from.
They Sherlock.
Yeah.
Right. Watson, Sherlock. Yeah. Yeah, but Spotlight has come a long way, and like it has awesome like serious suggestions, preview capabilities, all of that, but I still default to Launch Bar. And I was a Quicksilver guy when Launch Bar came out, and I made the transition because Quicksilver didn't seem like it had active development going on at that point. And they released a new version. What was it, like last year?
Yeah.
Of Quicksilver?
Yeah, they finally released a new version of Quicksilver. And then, but what I was going to say about Launch Bar is that I've actually found like there's a guy who I think we're mutuals on either Blue Sky or on Mastodon, who has like a whole GitHub repo of all of his Launch Bar actions. And so which are really good. So he's got things like doing a Jira search, doing action updates, doing things like from Caffeinate, expanding URLs, sharing files, sharing Safari links, switching audio, all kinds of stuff. So I'll put his links in the show notes for people who want to add things, because my only critique of Launch Bar has been, because I like Launch Bar a lot, but my only critique has been that and then there's another guy, this is different one. Christian Bender was the one I was thinking of. So the other guy has contributed to his thing, but Christian Bender is who I was actually thinking of. And he also has a website. And he's got like tons and tons and tons of Launch Bar stuff. But my only critique of Launch Bar over the years, because I've always liked it, has been that the community has not been quite as robust as like Alfred or now Raycast.
Yes.
And that's made me sad, because I think it's in many ways a superior designed app.
Yeah, the Alfred community has been outstanding. Like the number of plugins and extensions people have developed. Like people make Launch Bar extensions, but they don't have the general, like they don't collect the community the way that Alfred does. Anyway.
Yeah. All right, I've got one, but Erin, if you have a thing you would like to share, guests first, please.
Sure thing. And this can be really quick, because I just found out about this app before leaving for my show the other night. And so maybe I have two. So I have Keyboard Maestro 15 years late. Finally, Keyboard Maestro.
Awesome.
Love it so much already. But the app that came to mind was, again, I have not played with it really, but I'm glad it exists. Service Station.
What?
You know about this?
No.
Yeah, so the idea is that with Service Station, you get to customize your right-click menu based on the type of file you're clicking. Kind of like a PC. Like a PC in Windows, it's a little smarter about what kind of files you're working with. So I work, for example, with Logic a lot. And so I can now right-click a file and be like, yes, open with Logic, put that at the top of the list. And you could do a lot with it. But that's kind of my draw to it. Again, I haven't played with it, but I'm just really happy it exists. It looks to be pretty legit. So yeah, Service Station.
It's on the Mac App Store. I just found this. That is nice. Yes. My right-click menu is a mess. I might check this out.
Yeah, I was going to say my right-click menu is definitely a mess, so I like this a lot. Very cool. Okay, my pick is IA Presenter, which is very similar to another. So it's basically a Markdown kind of based presentation app from the people who made IA Writer. And so if you go to ia.net, it's a paid app. It's a kind of a subscription right now. Actually, you can do it two ways. You can buy it like a one-time thing just for Mac, or you can get a subscription, which is a little bit cheaper over time. And they're promising an iOS app. And but it's Mac only right now. And it's very similar to what was it called? Deskmate. What was the Markdown presentation app that we used to use? Brett.
Something deck.
Yes. Deckmate, Deckset.
Deckset, that's it.
Okay, it's similar to Deckset, but I do think that it is.
And what's it called again?
It's called IA Presenter, and it's from the same people who do IA Writer. So, it is it's at ia.net. They've got like a monthly or a yearly kind of subscription. You can also do a one-time purchase. But like I said, the subscription is going to also include an iOS app, which they promise is coming. You can try it out first. I think I'm doing the subscription right now, I believe, but it's really, really good. It's basically like a way to, do presentations, really beautiful, like looking, kind of text presentations using Markdown and other tools. They've got a theming engine, and it's really, really nice. So that's what I've been doing. I'm looking forward to giving a talk using this. I usually have to, it actually varies. Sometimes I have to like give presentations using a certain theme, but now that the fonts that we use at GitHub are actually open source, like we open sourced our branding fonts, it makes it easier for me in terms of like packaging stuff that I would want to do, because I could just put the font file there, and I wouldn't have to like remember like what Dropbox or Google Drive thing it's on. Like if I don't have it downloaded on a machine, I can just go to a website and download it. So I think this will make it easier for me to recreate some of the I guess stylistic things that I need to do at work using this style, so I can kind of have like a set way of doing things that still are like brand appropriate but are easier for my own working process. But I really like their speakers view, which is like more like a teleprompter, and that has like gives you like clear like dialogue cues and whatnot, which I really like. So I've been playing with this for a couple weeks now, and it's fairly new, and I like it a lot. So
this looks really good.
Yeah, so IA Presenter, they've got a free trial. IA Writer was an app that I haven't used it in a long time, but I have bought it over the years, and I've really, really liked it.
Sure.
And so I very much appreciate their attention to detail for design stuff. So DeckSet is still great. It hasn't been updated in a long time.
They put out bug fixes, but it's not advancing in any significant way.
Right. So for me, like if I were to invest like net new in one, like I'd probably start here. But
yeah, this looks really good. And you can use IA Writer has this block. You can include things like images and CSV files or whatever just by starting a line with a slash.
Yes.
And then following it with a path to the asset.
Yep. And this works the exact same way.
Yep. And that's cool. That I actually incorporated that into Marked. Like you can include other markdown files or images. And if you include like a CSV, it injects it as a markdown table. And if you include source code, it injects it as highlighted, like syntax highlighted code. Like I got that from IA Writer. They've had some good innovations. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're at like an hour 10. I think that's an episode.
That's a great episode.
Good job, people.
Good job. Everybody can get some sleep. Erin can continue to soothe her hangover. Brett can hopefully get some sleep because he was up all night. And I can hopefully maybe be productive today, which would be great.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Erin.
Thank you, Erin.
Happy Pride. Thanks
Happy
for
Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride. Get some sleep.
The system is going down now.
Hey there, good people. Before you go, we have a bunch of new places where you can interact with us. Please check out our Instagram feed, our YouTube channel, Twitter, of course, and sign up for the Overtired newsletter, which will sort of pick up where the show leaves off, with expanded show notes, a little bit of what the three of us get up to between episodes, and let's face it, there'll be some musings. How can you resist musings? You'll find details for all the ways to interact with us in the show notes and at overtired.com. And thank you, as always, for listening.